Cretaceous Rails has you going back in time basically and showing tourists dinosaurs and collecting jungle and building a resort, all while laying out trains, which are your train tracks, and then you'll be using those to collect trees and dinosaurs and tourists, etc., to again build those resort cards. I have played it solo, I've unboxed it, I have shown you how to play it. Well, now I am going to share my thoughts on it with you after the break. All right, so we are going to start off with inside the box. So again, I did do an unboxing, so if you are interested in seeing what is inside this box, I'll include a link up above to that. So to me, the punchboard components in this one, which are like the action tiles and a lot of that stuff, feel really nice. They're thick, they're chunky, they don't bend easily, they have that really nice component quality to them. The dinosaur pieces are fantastic. The fact that they're the molded miniatures, so they're not just like little wooden meeples that you collect, that they have this great table presence, really add that wow factor when you're looking at the board and you see all these dinosaurs, and even the tourists are little plastic people. So it just kind of has this really good table presence in regards to that, how you have it set up. The palm trees, again, are shaped palm trees. So they aren't like an afterthought. They help with that standout factor of the game as you're experiencing, this whole jungle with the trees and the dinosaurs and taking the people. The train cars. The train cars are all different shapes and have a surprising heft, especially considering their size, with them kind of being small. Like when you feel and you're like, wow, that is some quality components. So basically, overall, this is a really well-produced game. The insert itself is decent. It is a little tricky trying to figure out exactly how to layer all the different tiles throughout the top, but once you do it a couple times, you kind of get used to it, and they do have the kind of cutouts that you can kind of line up and know what goes where. But I would say the insert is the one thing that's kind of a little wonky in regards to it. The rule book itself also very well laid out. I was able to basically read through it, and it summarized everything well, had examples, had everything going on. Resort cards, made sure they explained those really well. So it's just a really well laid out rule book. So gaining the two-player changes, there is not many two-player changes in this one. There is a start token that you need to make, or a start board that you need to make sure you use the two-player side of. And then the number of tiles that you put out is 2 per player. So it's basically going to determine how many tiles get put out, thus how many dinosaurs and tourists, etc. are available, because that's going to be limited by the amount of tiles you have. So with that out of the way, we're going to get into gameplay. So for the gameplay, it's very easy to understand and teach. You're basically going to put out your marker, choose 2 actions, and do those 2 actions. I'll have a link to the how to play up here and down below if you're interested in that. And then even those actions are typically very easy. Like, if you're going to remove jungle, you just grab a jungle, put it on your train. Done. Capture a dinosaur, grab a dinosaur, put it on your train, make sure there's no jungle there. So the actions themselves aren't overly convoluted or convoluted at all. The biggest one is the resort cards, is you can play as many as you want on one level, so just kind of remembering that. And that works really well because those resort cards a lot of times will amplify or make those actions better, so you don't want them to be too convoluted from the get-go, because then if you're going to start adding stuff, it's going to start feel overwhelming and just complicated. So this one starts with something simple, and you might be able to slightly complicate them as you add some more stuff, like maybe grabbing more, taking them, putting them right to your hotel, etc. So that's a really cool mechanism there where, again, you start simple and can make them a little bit more complex. And then that whole capturing dinosaurs, grabbing tourists, etc. That to me is kind of where that crux is, where the decisions need to be made of when to grab things, because everything is interconnected. Like your tourists need to see dinosaurs in order to push up the tracks for those dinosaurs to score. So you don't want to take them too early, otherwise you're not going to be able to push up those tracks. You got to make sure you get those jungle out of the way so that you can capture the dinosaurs, so that the tourist can see it, which means you got to make sure you're laying your track well. And not just laying the track well, but where are you going to aim it? Where are you going to make sure that you go? And that kind of keeps getting changed up, because all the tiles are double-sided, so your layout might be different. You can choose how you want to arrange them, so you can always kind of make it so it's a little bit more combative or a little bit more open-ended and kind of spreading out. In addition to that, those resort cards, with them being more powerful as they get in a higher level, but then you have some that doesn't matter what level they're in. So then you try and get those to kind of build up, but your better ones get better as they get higher. So really trying to manipulate almost that spatial puzzle of making sure you have ones at the bottom so you can build on top and build on top and get that. So trying to lay out the dinosaurs you need and the tourists you need for that while still making sure you move on your tracks. So that's what I mean. Everything's just so interconnected and woven together that plays off of each other in this whole circular motion that it makes those decisions really agonizing in a way of, I really need these things to play those cards, but I don't want to grab them yet because I want to clear out a little bit more here. And it's just kind of choosing when to hit that switch, when to grab certain things, when to be able to play out those cards, making sure you have enough cards so you're not wasting that action. All of those things that just interact is really what really makes this that really cool, fun, kind of tight, decision-spaced puzzle of where to go. And with those action tiles changing each round, it's not like you can plan on, all right, well, next round, once that spot gets cleared, I'll go back there again. No, because you're going to shuffle up those tiles and randomize them all over. So that will not feel the same from round to round, game to game. It is going to change on how you can do those actions and how they interact. And then getting into the solo gameplay, I did do a gameplay of that. I'll link that up above. The solo bot is super easy to play. They have a deck of cards. You flip one of those over. It tells you where they put their marker. The way that they do the actions is also on the solo board, and it shows certain actions from top to bottom, because if they can't do an action, you're going to just start working your way down this board. So the whole user experience and the way they laid out the gameplay for the solo one works really well, and it's one that kind of ramps up as you play. Because when I was playing, I'm like, all right, this isn't too bad, this isn't too bad. And then all of a sudden they just mushroom and start grabbing stuff, and you just saw their points going up and up and up and up. And then you had to start doing that. So it really motivates you to really focus on something and make sure that you hem them in a certain way. But overall, I would say that this game is one of those, in essence, kind of collecting things to be able to play cards and do things. And it puts that interesting twist of everything having that connectivity between them. It's not simply, get resources to put out those cards, because you need to keep those resources out there for a certain amount of time to be able to push up your end game scoring with them. So it adds that whole extra layer onto, you got to collect the things, but you got to collect them at the right time and to utilize them in the proper way and to make sure that the interactions of them benefit you as much as you can before you grab them or before an opponent sneaks in and takes them out from you. Which leads me into how confrontational this game can be. Again, this will be based on player count, especially if you have like 3 or 4 people all starting from the base. You are going to, for sure, start interconnecting with each other. But I know the games that Brian and I have played, we typically end up kind of spreading out from each other. Then we may meet each other up at the top to kind of fight over there. But for a 2-player game, a lot of times we kind of leave ourselves open for at least, a good portion of the game. And then the end is when it starts becoming confrontational. Or you can choose, right from the get-go, be confrontational. Go into your opponent's one. Go and steal from them and stop them from being able to get it. So that you can choose that is another really great element and design twist that they put into this game. And you'll notice the big thing that I keep saying about this game is timing. Timing of when to grab dinosaurs for the end game, because you want to make sure you get them on a card so they score full points and aren't half points. But beyond just that, it's at the end of a round, you'll automatically unload your train. Otherwise, you'll typically have to forego an action to unload your train. So in order not to waste an action and have your train empty at the end of a round, and then it doesn't have to unload, trying to make sure, you plan out your moves properly so you do have that full train so it unloads so you are ready to go for the next round and you utilize all your actions to the best of your ability. Really prioritizing, getting more train cars so it is longer till you have to unload, and you can unload more, which lets you put out more cards, and optimizing those actions so it's not like, well, I built a resort card, I only built 1 or 2. Maybe I can build 3 or 4. Or when I unload my train, it's not just a dinosaur and a tourist. It's, bunches of dinosaurs, tourists, jungle, so you're ready to go and put out a lot of those cards and just kind of build that up. So it's a game where you can't necessarily fully plan ahead as those actions change, but you can set yourself up to be able to do those actions at a maximized ability when you do them in the future. You may not be able to do the ones you want together, but you will still be able to do them. I would say if there is one gripe I do have is I would say I would like the game to last a little bit longer. It kind of seems like you start having your resort built up and start having all these really cool abilities near like the end of the third round going into the fourth round. So I think I would have liked maybe one extra round to really be able to push forth and utilize a lot of that stuff that I have built. It just kind of seems to end once you get a lot of the cool stuff built. So I think that would be my one gripe, is wanting more. I mean, that's a good gripe, is always kind of wanting more, because then it is going to motivate you to want to play again. So, but I think that is why I am going to say that to me, this game is excellent. I am going to give this a 9 out of 10. It is definitely one that I enjoy playing. Like I said, trying to figure out where to put the track, how to line that up, when to grab those dinosaurs, building up your hand of resort cards so you're able to build what you would need to build and get that going. The way that the action selection mechanism is of choosing between the two. The solo mode, super easy to play. The component quality. Overall, a well-produced game, a really good design of, mitigating stuff. And it's one that never really slowed up Bri with her AP. She was always able to choose the actions and do what she wanted to do without having to agonize over what to give up and what not to give up, because there is such a wide variety that she can always typically do what she wanted to do. All right, so that is what I think about Cretaceous Rails. Now, if I could get you to head down below and hit like, subscribe, comment, share, ring the bell. Let me know your favorite dinosaur. If you're looking for board games, a good place to check for that is Manage Your Market. If you use our link down below, we will get a portion of those sales back to help fund this channel. All right, so until next time, be Dino-Mite.